How did me and Amanda meet? It's a long one, so I'll try to condense it as best as I can, but we technically met twice.
It's funny because every time someone asks this, it's kind of a weird question to answer because we kind of met twice.
I had a friend who came home from his mission.
So this summer, one of my cousins was dating someone, and they had broken up.
And she ended things, and they wanted to talk to each other just to clear the air.
And she asked that boy to just kind of clear the air so it wasn't awkward.
And so I was invited so that he wouldn't be alone on the car ride.
And he said sure, but he didn't want to go alone with her, so he brought some friends, one of them being Michael.
I got to know her, and her name was Lexi. And she told me that she was going to school in Utah and that she was in town just visiting family and her cousin. And so we just had a fun car ride, I guess, and then we went back to the place where she had her stuff, and she said, "I'd like to go to my cousin's house to spend the night. Would you guys be willing to drop me off?" And so we got her stuff, she got back in the truck, and we went to this house. We pulled in the driveway, and we were there for just a few minutes. And then this Honda CR-V pulled up, and one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen got out, and she came up to the side of the truck.
I had come home from a date, and they were sitting on the carport in the truck. And I just went up and said, "Hi, everyone." And Michael's in the back, and he was being flirty. He's like, "Get in with us." And I was like, "I'm okay."
And I asked her to come in the car, that we would go on a little drive or something, and she didn't really want to.
Because I was dating someone else, so I was like, I didn't really think anything of it.
And then I let Lexi out of the car to go into the house, and I remember watching this girl go into her home as she walked through her front door, and I just thought to myself, I hope I get to see that girl again someday.
And then fast forward like a month and a half right after school started, another cousin threw a pool party at her house, and so I went.
And I remember driving to this party, not really wanting to go. I felt like my friends didn't really want me there, but I knew that I had to go for some reason anyway.
And I saw Michael there talking to my cousin that was throwing the party, and I was like, oh, I remember that kid from the truck.
And I remember walking through the backyard of this home and hearing a few girls say stuff like, "I know that kid." And as I was talking to this girl, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the prettiest girl I've ever seen. And as I looked at her, I could tell that she had been staring at me for a long time.
And so I went over there, and that whole time I'd just been staring at him. I was like, I remember him.
When she approached me, I stuck out my hand, and I was still sitting in the chair, and I still feel bad to this day because I didn't stand up to greet her.
And I went over and I was just staring at him, and he's like, "Hi, Michael Ricks, what's your name?" And I was like, "Amanda Pay Salt, like pay for salt." And then I just kept staring. I didn't say anything.
I'll never forget how I felt as I looked at her, and I just knew something was different about this girl Amanda that I had just met.
He texted me that night, and he's like pay for salt, right?
So after that night, we started to talk, and that's how Amanda and I met.
Yeah, that's how we met. What about Michael makes me laugh? Sometimes he does these crazy funny accents, like he does this cowboy one, he talks like a black person, he like holds his throat, and it's hilarious. And then he does this really like spot on Asian accent. And one of the funniest things I can remember is we had edamame beans one night, and he like read the entire, like all the instructions on the packet in that Asian voice, and I was just dying laughing. It was hilarious.
Genuine, happy, loving, dedicated, and special.
The funniest thing Michael's ever done. That's hard because we're always laughing. I don't know if I could put my finger on one thing that he did, but that edamame bean story was hilarious. And just those accents, like that's one of the #1 things that when he does, I die.
Something that stands out to me since meeting Amanda would probably be the way she makes me feel every time I see her. I don't know how to describe it, but I've never been greeted that way before, and it's nonstop. Every time she sees me, every day, it's like the happiest thing in the world to her.
How would I describe our first kiss? Backstory, so it was on a Sunday, like 4 days after we had met, and we had talked about just taking things slow and seeing where they went, so I wasn't expecting it at all. And we were at my house and just sitting on the couch, and he's like, hey, can we go do something really fast? And I was like, sure. I got kind of nervous. And then he started to get up off the couch and kiss me on the cheek, and I was like I got all these butterflies. And then he said, stay inside for a second, I gotta do something. And so I waited, and then I went outside, and he had set up some blankets on the front lawn, and we were just talking, and he was like, Amanda, I really gotta tell you something. And I was like, okay. He's like, I really, 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 really like you. But I could tell that's not what he was wanting to say. And so he's like, okay, I think I'm falling in love with you. And then I was like, I think I am too. And I was like, wait, scratch that, I know I am. And then we were just talking a little bit more, and then he just leaned over and kissed me, and I don't know how to describe it. There's not a word. It's unreal. I never felt that feeling before, and I just knew he was the one. I knew before that, but that just solidified it. It was super cool. And then me being the cheesy girl I was, I got kind of emotional. I was just like, everything in life has led up to this. So it was a really good night.
I'd have to say I'm most excited to start my life and my family with her. And I know that the day we have our first kid will be more than amazing. And so that's probably what I'm most excited for, is to start a family with Amanda.
When I met him the second time, there was something different about him. He didn't have to say or do anything. I just felt his spirit. It was different, and I just automatically knew I want to know this boy. He's smart, he's ambitious, he's driven, and he has goals, and I know he'll accomplish them. So that to me is really important, because that's how I am. So him being that same way is important to me, and he's really clean like I am. He's likes things organized. He's really strong in the church, which was important for me. He's got a great family, and he treats his parents and his siblings and everyone he knows really well. And he's just a really personable guy. He'll talk to any stranger he sees and get to know them.
I would have to say I didn't really feel nervous when I proposed to Amanda, so she's right. But I was anxious, and I think that I acted that way because I had so much preparation, and I had done so much so that she wouldn't have a clue it was coming, that it kind of prepped myself for the situation. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing lots of advice from lots of friends and family about what to do and what not to do so that I wouldn't act weird and stuff like that. So that I had planned that when I was right about to ask her to marry me, I had planned to ask her what advice she would give me about the time I spoke with her father to ask for his blessing to marry his daughter. And so as we were walking to the spot I already had planned to propose at, I asked her that question, and I knew that it threw her completely off. And I think that helped settle a little my nerves. It made me more excited to do it because she had no clue it was coming. But I do remember, right as I saw the spot that our families had set up for me to ask Amanda to marry me, I just lost it. And it was funny because she didn't really know it was for her, which also helped my nerves, but I was just really prepared. I was really ready to ask Amanda to marry me. And so with that excitement, I just used it to the best of my ability to make her know that I was more than comfortable and that I wasn't nervous about the situation.
The first thing I noticed about Michael, the first time I met him, just him in general, he just stood out. There was a light on him, even though there were no lights at all. But the second time, I just, I could feel his spirit, like I said in the last question. And his smile, it just felt like home, it was welcoming. Honestly, that first night I met him, I knew there was something different. And then the day after we went on a drive and just talked about so many things. And I remember one thing specifically he said about women, just like that they're the most important thing, like they're God's greatest creation. Like it just hit me and I was like, whoa, I've never heard like a guy talk about women like this. It was super cool. Just hearing about his family and what he wants to do with his life, I was just like, oh my gosh, I think he's the one. And I remember calling my mom. So we met Wednesday, took a drive Thursday, had a date Friday, and on Saturday we went to the lake. And I called my mom that night. I was like, Mom, I think I'm crazy, but I was like, I think I met the one I'm gonna marry. And she was like, when you know, you know. So like 4 days after we met.
The one wish that I would have right now is that the 34 days left were over, or 35, and also that I was done with school and that I would be just past that.
He's just so loving, and he always gives me confirmation that I'm doing okay in life and that I got this. So he's just really loving and always boosts my confidence and tells me what I'm doing right. He focuses on the positive.
The first night Amanda and I hung out is one that I'll never forget. And that day I was with some friends and I had a really upset stomach, and Amanda texted me that she wanted to hang out, and so I was more than willing to do so, but I was just nervous of how I was feeling health-wise. But I wanted to go anyway, and I remember walking up to the door, a little nervous but super happy, excited to get to know this girl that I had met previously and just talk to her and hear from her about her and who she was and what she liked to do. And I remember knocking on the door and her opening the door with the biggest smile I have ever seen. And it's that smile that she greets me with every single day. It hasn't changed.
And I'm excited to just have kids and a family with him and travel and just accomplish our goals and anything else that we want to do. Just to be with him.
I knew that I was in love with Amanda every continuing day. But I would say the moment that I knew the most was when we went boating on a weekend with some of my friends. I just remember boating and not caring at all about anybody else but Amanda, and how much fun we had together and how I felt like I was in my own little world with her. And as I kept looking at her throughout the day and at certain times, I just felt something that I've never felt with anyone before, and I knew that it was love, and I knew that it was gonna grow every single day.
I love when we're driving and we just play our songs. We have this playlist called The Beginning of Forever. I made it when we started dating, and I just put like cute songs that we showed each other that reminded us of each other. And so I love playing those and just singing to them. And then there's this one song, it's like the only song I ever really hear Michael sing. And so I love when he sings because it's rare and it's really cute.
I look up to my mom and my dad a lot, as they constantly told me that you'll just know when you meet your future companion. And I'm so grateful that I did take their advice, because it got me to where I am today.
I tell him all the time, but just that I love him and that I will be here forever for anything and everything, and I'll be by his side every step of the way to help him with whatever he needs and to just love him.
The one thing I always want Amanda to know is how much I love her and what she means to me, not only as my future wife, but what she means to me as an individual, as a divine daughter of our Heavenly Father, as somebody who's more than capable and competent of doing anything that she ever desires in life. She amazes me every day, and I always want her to know that. And I always want to show that to her, and to not only tell that to her, but to let her always know how much she means to me and how capable she is of everything, and how wonderful she is at everything, and how perfect she always is.